Hey everybody, Sharon here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today with a playthrough of Signalis, and we're going for the rest of the achievements in this game. Of course, we are doing this on the Windows Store version, so we can get access to the console commands, which should make getting the achievements and beating the game a lot easier and a lot quicker. So to use the console commands, you are going to need to have a keyboard with the function row available. I am also going to recommend that you play with a controller, so just make sure you plug that in if you want to. And then once you have both input devices ready, you are going to want to head into the settings. We're going to need to adjust one specific setting in order to get a very particular achievement. So make sure you head into there. Make sure you go to the bottommost option, which is going to be combat accessibility. You're going to want to crank that all the way up to the highest difficulty, which is going to be survival, as there is going to be an achievement to beat the entirety of the game with survival mode on. Make sure you click apply, and then make sure you click yes to confirm, and that should set up the game in a way where we can go for that achievement. So back out to the main menu, make sure you click begin to start up a new game. You're going to get a cutscene. You can skip cutscenes whenever you want to, so if they are going to be too much of a burden on your time, make sure you do skip them. But once you do wake up out of your pod, just make sure you head up. You're going to get to this ladder. Make sure you click on it to climb up to the higher level of the ship. Then we're going to head down. Once we're in this room, we are going to take this time to explain how to use the console commands. So you are going to need to hit the F7 key on your keyboard. Right after that, you want to make sure you press in order these letters. You want to do A, U, S, R, U, I, N, E, N, and then hit the enter key. And if you do it correctly, your character should end up taking some damage. So as soon as that happens, we are able to have access to the console whenever we want to by just hitting the F7 key. So make sure you hit F7. That's going to bring up the console in the bottom left, and then we are able to type in whatever cheats we can use in order to get us through the game. So first cheat up is going to be give space airlock key. Airlock key is going to be one word, and that should add the inventory item we need to get through the next part. So make sure you head through to the door on the left, and then you should be in this room. Make sure you go forward and then click on this device right here. It's going to ask you for the airlock key. You should have it since we gave it to ourselves using the console, so we are able to skip actually finding it. We are going to get another cutscene immediately after this. Again, feel free to skip cutscenes whenever you want to, but eventually your character is going to wake up after this fade to white. And then once you are here, just make sure you move forward. You're going to keep making your way through the fog until you get to an archway, and then once you see that archway, just make sure you keep moving forward until you pass through it, and that's going to immediately warp you to the next area. So we're going to now be right in this place at the bottom of this stairwell in this hole with another hole. Make sure you interact with the smaller hole, and then you're going to be inside. And then what you want to do is want to make sure you crawl your way forward, and this is going to eventually take you to this little small office right here. So make sure you keep crawling to the red light, and then once you pop up on the other side, you're going to be in this room. Make sure you pick up this book by clicking on it, and then making sure you pick yes to pick it up. And that's actually what's going to bring us to the end of the prologue. So that should cover the opening act of the game. As soon as you get to the title card to transition over to chapter 1, you should be good for your first achievement. There it is. This one's going to be for 30 gamer score. So, chapter number 1, you are going to wake up in this restroom, and as soon as you do, it's time to further take advantage of the console commands. So hit that F7 key. First cheat up is going to be bag space 300. This should increase our inventory size, and that should allow us to hold all of the items in the game. So next cheat up is going to be give space all. That should give you every single item available in the game. And then once we have that, we're going to use a teleport cheat. So make sure you do go to space hole space classroom. That should warp you over to the next part of the story. Now, we are actually going to have to play certain parts of the story in order to progress it, so you can't just skip to the end of the game, unfortunately. So make sure you just skip to whatever the closest story moment is, and in this case, it's going to be this hole in the classroom. Once you are there, make sure you click on the hole to drop down, and then once you are here, you should be able to move on to the next area. So make sure you hit F7, go to space elevator space lobby. That should safely take you to the next part of the story without sequence breaking. So once we're out here in the elevator lobby, we're going to hit up the elevator button on the left. That's going to call the elevator down to the second floor. Just make sure you wait for it. Once it does light up, indicating that the elevator is going to be here, make sure you interact with the elevator door to go on inside. Once you are actually in the elevator car, you're going to want to interact with the control panel to the left. First thing you want to do is make sure you click on the card slot right here. You're going to use your ID card on the slot, and then as soon as it accepts it, what you want to do is want to make sure you press the third button right here, so the one with the 3 on it. Then just make sure you click on the blue button to confirm your selection, and then it's going to activate the elevator. What's going to end up happening is the elevator is going to move you up to the 3rd floor, and then the power is going to get cut. You're going to get a little cutscene, but more importantly, right after that, you should be good for your next achievement. It's going to be for another 30 gamer score, so another story-based achievement taken care of. Click on the blue screen, and then what you want to do is want to make sure you wait until you get this message that the power has been interrupted. The power should come on shortly thereafter, and then you should be free to move on. Click on the card slot to get the little description, but that should allow you to back out and then head back to the elevator lobby. Now, once we're back in control of our character, we're going to hit the F7 key to bring up the console again. Make sure you do go to space back space office. We are going to go here because we need to craft a key we need to open up the last door of chapter 1. So make sure you make the jump, and then that should warp us to this room. There's going to be a computer in this room. Make sure you interact with that computer, and this computer is going to have the puzzle that we need in order to craft the key. So click on the computer on the right and then insert the blank key. Then just make sure you click on the screen to start the puzzle. Make sure you set it to define pattern, and then that should allow you to program the key. To do this, you want to make sure you start out in the upper left. So as soon as you click on that, just make sure you move the cursor to the upper left circle. Then you need to make sure you draw the key. So you have 8 moves to do this, and the pattern is going to look exactly like this. So starting out in the top left, you want to make sure you go over to the right once, then down, then right, then up, then back down, then down all the way, then to the right, and then back up. As soon as you have that, just make sure you print pattern, and that should print the proper key. And then just make sure you grab it out of the slot and then stash that in your inventory. You should now have all of the keys needed to open up the final door of chapter 1. So we are going to make the jump to where that is. So F7 key once you are back out, and then make sure you do go to space waiting space room. Once you make the jump over to the waiting room, the locked door is going to be directly in front of you. It is going to take all of the keys to open it, but of course we should have all of them now, including the 1 key we needed to craft. So make sure you slot each one of the 5 keys. You can do them in any order, and each of them is going to represent one of the elements. So just make sure you go water, earth, fire, air, and of course the last one is going to be gold to represent the avatar. So make sure you slot all 5 of those in, and then the door should unlock, and then you should get access to the final area of chapter 1. There is going to be a save point right here. This is going to be a very good location in order to grind out all of the death related kills. So that's going to be for dying once and then dying 20 times. So make sure you make that save handy anyways, even if you don't want to go for it now, as we can go for it later. But whenever you are ready to tackle the first boss, what you want to do is make sure you hit that F7 key and then punch in this cheat. It's going to be Kami, K-A-M-I, and that's basically going to make it so you don't take any damage in the game whatsoever. Then just drop down into the lower part of the room, and then you should start the boss fight right after this cutscene. Now, you should be invincible. However, to kill the boss, we're going to take advantage of the console again. So F7 key, and then type in the word kill. So K-I-L-L, in case you don't know how to spell that. And that should wipe everything in the room, except for you, obviously. And that's going to include the boss. So once he does go down, you should get this cutscene, but more importantly, you should be good for the achievement for beating him during said cutscene. This one is going to be for another 30 gamer score, so that's going to be another story-related achievement out of the way. You're going to wake up in this classroom, and you're going to need to control your character in first person. So make sure you turn all the way around, and then make sure you head out of the classroom door, which is going to be this thing right here. Make sure you click on it to open it, and then make sure you proceed out into the hallway. You're going to turn left and then follow the hallway until you get to the end. At the end, there's going to be a room that is going to have the door opened slightly. Make sure you interact with that door. It's going to be on the right side, hard to miss, and then you should get another cutscene. That should wrap up this little flashback, and then you're going to end up waking back up in the elevator lobby on the 5th floor. Then we're going to hit F7 again, and then we're going to warp to the mine shaft access. So go to space mine shaft space access, and then we're going to actually wrap up chapter 1 and then start up chapter 2. So once you make the jump, just make sure you interact with the elevator door. It's going to be this thing in the upper left, very hard to miss. Make sure you click on it to open it up, and then make sure you head on inside, and then just make sure you enjoy the elevator ride. You should have all of the keys and stuff necessary to activate everything, so just make sure you start up the elevator, and then make sure you take this down into the mines, and then halfway through your elevator ride, you should unlock the Chapter 2 title card, which is going to also have the next story-related achievement tied to it. So let that play out, and then it should unlock right here. This one's going to be for another 30 gamer score. Once you take care of that cutscene, you're going to be back in the elevator. Just make sure you wrap up your little elevator ride, and as soon as it stops, make sure you head down to start up Chapter 2. All right, Chapter 2. Make sure you start off by hitting the F7 key. You want to make sure you do the next warp code. It's going to be go to space the space hole. Do not forget the hole. The hole is going to be different from just hole. So make sure you take care of that and make sure you include the, and it's going to warp you to the appropriate place. Once you are here, you're going to want to turn and then head down to said hole, and then make sure you drop down into it. Once you reach the bottom of the hole, you're going to be in another first-person mode. Make sure you proceed forward, and you want to make sure you stop about here. Then you're going to need to not make any movements for about a minute or so. So set the controller down, make sure you walk away, and then you should come back. What's eventually going to happen is the screen is going to transition over to the next part, but you just need to make sure you stand completely still right here. Once you get the red screen, it's eventually going to count down, and then once you get to the end of it, you should wake back up at the appropriate location, which is going to be the bottom of the hole. So once you are there, we're going to do another warp cheat, and we're going to go to just the regular hole this time. So F7 key, make sure you do go to space hole. So same thing, but minus the, and that should warp you to the correct hole, which is going to be this hole. So make sure you move up and then drop down into this hole, and at the bottom of this hole is going to be the Chapter 2 boss. So make sure you get ready to hit that F7 key as soon as you can, and then punch in the kill cheat to take out the boss. So make sure you take care of that as quickly as possible. Of course, we still have invincibility on, so we don't have to worry too much about dying or anything, but take care of the boss, and then you should get another cutscene where we're going to meet this NPC. You cannot skip this particular cutscene, so be a little patient with this one. However, what's coming up is going to be very important, as it is going to have one of the missable achievements in the game. So we are definitely going to need to take care of this one before moving on with the rest of the story. So once you are back up to your feet, you're going to have the NPC lying down on the little bed to the left. Make sure you exit the room by going to the right and then re-enter. What's going to happen next is you are allowed to interact with the NPC and then give her the small bottle. Remember, we have every single inventory item in our inventory, so we should be able to heal her without finding the small bottle ourselves. Once she is back up, you are going to want to go for the missable achievement, which is to pick up the rifle. Now, we actually do have the rifle already in our inventory thanks to the Give All cheat. Unfortunately, because we aren't allowed to use the console to directly unlock achievements, we are going to have to pick up the rifle where we normally would in the story, which happens to be right at this moment. So, what you're going to need to do is you need to make sure you hit the F7 key, and you want to make sure you punch in this cheat. You want to do remove space rifle. That should get rid of the rifle that we got through the Give All cheat, which should allow us to pick up the normal rifle at this part of the game. Now, you could always skip picking up the rifle, however, that would of course mean you missing the achievement, so make sure you take care of this as soon as you get to this part of the story. Once our inventory is going to be rifle free, you are going to want to talk to the NPC, and then make sure you inspect the rifle, then talk to her again to ask for it, and then she's going to basically allow you to pocket it. So go back up to the rifle and make sure you do so, and then once you add it to your inventory, you should be good for the achievement. So 100 gamer score for this one, and then we should be free to move on with the rest of the story. So to move on, we're going to hit F7 again to bring up the console commands, and then we're going to do go to space tree. And that's going to basically warp us to the last area of Chapter 2, which is going to be this room, supposedly in a tree. And then we're going to go up to this door right here and then inspect it. It's going to ask that you slot these hexagons in. You should already have them in your inventory, so just make sure you click on each one and then slot all of them in. And then once you have all 6 of them in, forming a bigger hexagon, you should unlock the door, and then you should be able to proceed forward. So make sure you open up the door and then head on inside. Once you are here, you're going to be in this room. Make sure you head up the staircase. You are going to get a ton of cutscene stuff, and eventually what's going to happen is the game is going to basically give you a game over and the quote-unquote bad ending. You get an achievement for it for a 30 gamer score, and the game's going to kick you back to the title screen. This is all going to be normal. Once you get back to the title menu, you want to make sure you click on Begin, and this is actually going to be the way you start Chapter 3. So make sure you do that, and then you are going to load in to Chapter 3 with this message, and then once you get control of your character, we should be free to move on. So the beginning of Chapter 3 is going to take place back on the ship. We're going to make our way up, and then once we head through this door, we're going to have to navigate through this ship. It's going to be quite the maze, so make sure you pay very close attention. Make sure you head up the ladder, and then make sure once you are up here, you're going to head down. And then once you are in here, you should be in this hallway. This is going to be the bridge of the ship, so make sure you take this down into the cockpit, and then once you are here, make sure you click on the flight controls. You're going to want to click on the screen, and then basically you're going to keep clicking on it, and then you're going to need to check on all of the ship's systems. So make sure you back out, and then we're going to have to navigate around the ship and then inspect everything. So it's going to be back up across the bridge. Once you are in this room, we're going to go right first. Once you are in this room, you're going to want to click on the monitors right here to inspect them. Once you zoom in, make sure you click on the monitor, and then your character should inspect them, and that should take care of another system. Then we're going to move on to the next one, so just make sure you back out, go back to the left. Once you are in this room, we're going to head across the way over to the left door. Once we are in this room, we're going to head up. And then once we are in this room, we're going to check on the pipes, so make sure you check right over here to the upper left. That should take care of another system. Then it's going to be back down and then back into the room with the ladder. And then once you're here, we're going to go up. Once we are in this room, which is going to be the cargo bay, we're going to head further up. And then in this room, you're going to want to go over here and then inspect the machinery to the left, which is going to be the hibernation unit. So take care of that. Then it's going to be back down. And then once we are here, we're going to head over to the right. Some story stuff is going to happen, but eventually you're going to wake up and then everything's going to be snowy. And then once you get control of your character, you're going to make your way over to the left. Once you are here, we're going to head back up, and as you can see, the ship has changed. And then once we are up here, everything's going to be all different in the hibernation unit. We're going to get some cutscene stuff, and then this is going to happen. And then once we get control of our character again, we're going to head down, and then we're going to follow the blood trail all the way down. So make sure you take this back down here, and then you are going to drop down this gaping hole where the ladder room used to be. After a little screen transition, we're going to wake back up in another first-person mode. Make sure you follow the shoreline, and eventually you're going to get to a ship. Make sure you take the ship, which is probably some allegory for something. So just make your way to the end of the coastline, and the ship is going to be right here on the water. Just make sure you take that, and then interact with it by clicking on it, and then we're going to make the jump back into the game. You're going to get some cutscene stuff, of course, and then, of course, you are free to skip it if you don't want to sit through it. Nonetheless, this is going to end with you getting the next story-related achievement for 30 gamer score, and you are going to wake back up in the restroom. Once you are back, make sure you hit that F7 key to bring up the console. We're going to make another warp cheat right here. Go to Space Hole Classroom. Once you make the jump, we're going to be right over here in front of this hole. And as with the rest of the holes in this game, we're going to have to jump down into it, so make sure you do so. Drop down into the hole, and then once you get to the other side, you're going to get some more cutscene stuff. Again, feel free to skip. And then once you wake back up, you should be right here in this room. Make sure you go up and then interact with this wall. We're going to have a puzzle here where we need to rotate these circles. We're going to start on the left and then work our way to the right. So for this first one, make sure you rotate this until you are completely empty. Then make sure you go to the second one. For this one, it's going to be one notch over from the left. So keep rotating it until it looks like this. Then for the third one, what you want to do is you want to make sure you rotate it so it looks like this, one notch over from the right. Then the fourth one, you need to make sure it looks a little something like this, where it's going to be completely full. For the fifth one, we're going to need to set it right like this, one notch over from the left. And then finally, the last one, you're going to want to do two notches over from the left. So the final product should look a little something like this. If you get that combination right, you should automatically pull the camera back. And then what's going to happen is a hole is going to open up right here. We're going to proceed through this very familiar hole, and then on the other side is going to be the tiny office with the desk and the book on it. And then, of course, we're going to pick up said book, and then that's going to move us over to the next part of the story. So after this case of deja vu, we should wake up in this next room right here, and we should get ready to fight the last boss. So make sure you go over to the left, and then after a cutscene, you're going to be in this room. Feel free to make a save if you want to. Save station is going to be right there in the upper left. Now, before we actually start the boss fight, we are going to have to gear up. So, unfortunately, we got all of our items taken away at the start of Chapter 3, but of course, nothing's stopping us from putting them back using cheats. So, F7 key, and then do the give all cheat again, and that should give you every single item that you could ask for. Then we're going to head into the boss room, so make sure you take the door up. Then it's going to be a slow walk up the ominous hallway, so make sure you take that up. And then at the end of this is going to be another door. Make sure you open that up, and then we're going to have the pre-final boss fight dump of story. Make sure you try to get through this or skip it if you want to. But nonetheless, on to the actual boss fight. This one is going to be quite a lengthy one, so hopefully you have some patience for this. So thankfully, we still have the invincibility from the Cami cheat, so you don't really have to worry about failing this. However, the boss fight is still going to take a long time. Make sure you hit the F7 key to bring up the console command. We're going to do the lawn mower cheat. What this is going to do is it's going to give us infinite ammo, which is going to be a really good thing because this boss is going to take several bullets to kill. Once you have that entered, make sure you open up your inventory and then equip the gun of your choice. I am going to recommend the submachine gun as it's a lot easier to control. So make sure you set it to that, and then we are going to just basically unload on the boss using this thing. Now, unfortunately, this game is going to play like a PlayStation 1 era survival horror game. So once you run out of bullets, in order to reload, you have to open up your inventory and then manually reload the bullets. So this one is going to make an already cumbersome fight way more cumbersome. But you are pretty much just going to dump all of your machine gun bullets into the boss. Once you run out of ammo, open up your inventory, reload the gun, and then keep firing away. Once the boss goes down, you're going to want to go up to them, and then you're going to interact with them. That should transition you over to the next phase, and then you're going to keep this up until you kill the boss. Now, from the second phase onward, in order to land the finishing blow of that respective phase, you're going to need to pick up a spear first. The boss is going to do these spear attacks, and they're going to drop a bunch of spears around. Just make sure you pick one up before you land that finishing blow to end that specific phase, and then you should be able to get through this. So, unfortunately, you can only pick up one spear at a time, so you can't hold on to a bunch of them, so that's going to make things even more cumbersome. So whenever you do have an opportunity to grab a spear, make sure you do so, and make sure you do it before you take the boss down, and then you should be good for transitioning over to the following phases. There are going to be a bunch of phases, so again, this fight is going to be super duper long, but it's going to be pretty much a pattern of you shooting the boss with your machine gun. Once you run out of ammo, pause the game, open up the menu, reload the gun, keep shooting. If you happen to notice a spear around, just make sure you pick it up, and then just keep shooting the boss until they go down. Once they go down, go up to them, hit them with the spear, and then just make sure you keep doing this for the entirety of the fight. It is going to be super long and arduous, so hopefully you have some patience for this one. So hopefully you can slug things out, and then once you do finally get that last spear into the boss, you should be good for the fight. Now, once you do finish off the boss, who's going to look like this in their last phase, you should get this cutscene. As soon as you get to this part, hit that F7 key and make sure you punch in the Cami cheat again to disable it. We should be at the point of the game where there are going to be no more enemies anyways, but disabling the Cami cheat is going to allow us to unlock all of the ending-related achievements without any incident, so make sure you take care of that. Nonetheless, after a cutscene, you're going to wake back up in the ship, which one you just want to make your way up, and then once you get to the ladder room, make sure you take a left into the medical bay. Once you are here, make sure you go up to go into the pipes room, and then once you are here, make sure you go to the right, and then once you are in this area, you're going to want to head up one more time, and then it's going to ask if you want to go home. Make sure you pick yes, and that's going to be the end of the game. You should roll credits, and then once you get to the results screen, you can see how well you did, but more importantly, you should unlock all of your ending-related achievements here. First one is going to just be for beating the game. That's going to be for 50 gamer score, and then if you happen to beat the game on survival, you should be good for another achievement for 200 gamer score. And if you happen to have every single other achievement in the game, you should be good for the last achievement, which is going to be for another 200 gamer score. That should wrap up the game. Hopefully you enjoyed the playthrough using the console commands, but that's going to be it. And that's all there is to it.